Thank you. Thank you very much. 你好吗? Zimbabwe. Thank you for welcoming me here. This is an amazing gathering. This is my first visit to Taiwan. And already I feel at home. I've been here now just for 3 days, and already I'm grateful for so many things. The subject I teach and write about is philosophy, moral and political philosophy. And often, when we think of philosophy, we think of a subject that really resides in the clouds. A subject that is all about abstract ideas that the philosophers discuss and debate, far removed from the world in which we live. But I've never viewed philosophy this way. From the time I was young, I was interested in politics, in campaigns and elections, in political arguments and debates. I found it fascinating. When I graduated from college, how many of you here are still in college, by the way? How many are college students? Quite a few. Wow. Well, when I graduated from college, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I thought maybe I would become a political journalist, maybe become a politician and run for office. And the idea of being a professor, that was not my first idea. And then I had a chance to read and study some more and to travel, and I became fascinated by what the philosophers of the past had to say about justice and political community and the common good. And before I knew it, I was captured by the project of philosophy, and I wound up a teacher of philosophy. But I always wanted to retain some connection between the kind of philosophy that I did and the world in which we live. Philosophical problems and debates, especially ethical debates, are difficult and controversial. And the philosophers themselves, whether Plato and Aristotle or Confucius or John Stuart Mill, the philosophers themselves disagree about what justice means, about what a just society looks like. They disagree. They were arguing with one another. And so you might wonder, if these great thinkers can't agree on the meaning of justice and the common good, how can we possibly aspire to do better? And doesn't this show that philosophy is impossible? Well, in a way, it may be. And yet, philosophy is also inescapable, because these big questions about justice and virtue and the common good these big questions are at stake in our everyday lives, in our personal lives, and also in our public life. And so tonight, I would like to engage you in a discussion. You thought you were coming to a lecture. But it's not the kind of lecture where the professor stands at a podium and reads from a text and gives you the answers about big ideas. Philosophy is exciting because it really is less a list of answers than an invitation to reason together about things that matter in our lives. And so I would like tonight, in this small, intimate gathering, to invite you to discuss some of the big questions that face all of us in our societies. I'm going to give you some examples, some stories that raise hard questions about what is the right thing to do. And I want to invite you to tell me what you think, and to listen to one another, and to say whether you agree or disagree with what your friends and colleagues have to say. So does that sound reasonable? Are you ready to participate? Even you, way back in the balcony. Are you ready? Yes? All right. The general question I would like to pose is the subject of my new book, What Money Can't Buy. And the question is this: what should be the role of money and markets in a good society? Today, there are very few things that money can't buy. I'll give you one or two examples from my society. There's a city in California that offers prisoners a choice. If you're sentenced to a jail term in this California town, and if you don't like the standard accommodations, you can buy a prison cell upgrade. It's true. For how much do you suppose? How much a night, would you guess? It's about $90 a night. A good deal if you can afford it. Here's another example. The cost of living is going up. Jobs are hard to find. There's a new way of making money. Rent space on your forehead to an advertising company. Tattoo advertising, they call it. There are advertising firms that rent space for commercial sponsors on people's foreheads. One woman needed to raise money for the education of her son, and she auctioned off space on her forehead for a permanent tattoo for a commercial sponsor willing to pay, how much do you think? $10,000. Unfortunately, the winning bid came from an online casino. And so she agreed to put an ad, a tattoo ad for the casino on her forehead. What money can buy. Now, these may seem like small examples, but money and markets are reaching in to more fateful, important spheres of life. For example, the way we fight our wars. Did you know that in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, there were more private military contractors on the ground than there were U.S. military troops. Now, this was not because we ever had a public debate about whether we wanted to outsource war to private companies, but this is what has happened. Over the last few decades, we've seen around the world a trend, almost without realizing it. We have drifted from having market economies to becoming market societies. The difference is this: a market economy is a tool. It's a valuable and effective tool for organizing productive activity. And as you all know, market economies have helped produce affluence, prosperity, rising standards of living in places around the world. But a market society is different. A market society is a place where everything is up for sale. A market society is a way of life where market thinking and market values reach into spheres of life previously governed by other values, non-market values. Now, why should we worry about this? For the following reason. When markets operate outside the domain of material goods like cars and flat-screen televisions, when markets begin to dominate other domains of life, family life, personal relations, health, education, criminal justice, civic life, when markets govern in those areas, sometimes they change the meaning of the goods we care about. And sometimes market values can crowd out or corrupt non-market values worth caring about. But it's not easy to know when market thinking and market values pose a threat to other values and when they simply contribute to economic efficiency. But this suggests that where markets serve the public good and where they don't belong is not only an economic question. It's also a moral and a civic question, a question on which we often disagree. Despite the fact that we often disagree, we need, I think, to step back and reflect on the proper place of markets. We need to have a morally active debate about where markets serve the public good and where they don't belong. And that's the debate I'd like to invite you to join me in tonight. Let's begin with a small example. Let's imagine that you are living in a place that has a lot of snow in the winter. Just imagine that.